flickering fluorescent light buzzed overhead, a dying insect trapped in its cold glare. The smell was what got to you first. A cloying mix of stale pizza, disinfectant, and something metallic that made your stomach churn. It was the kind of smell that seeped into your clothes, your skin, and clung to the back of your throat like a persistent cough. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. A name that once brought laughter, now only whispered in hushed tones of dread. It had been a week since I'd taken the job, and already the walls felt like they were closing in. My name's Mike Schmidt. I wasn't looking for excitement when I took the job as a night security guard, just something to keep the social services off my back. They were threatening to take my sister Abby. She is all I have. My Aunt Jane, she was breathing down my neck, all sharp angles and greedy eyes, just waiting for any opportunity to snatch her up for those monthly custody payments she was so desperate for. I was fired from my last job because I confused a negligent father with a kidnapper when he got close to my sister. My career counselor, Steve Raglan, a slick, overly enthusiastic guy who, for some reason, always made me feel uneasy, offered me the job. A night shift at an abandoned pizza joint. No thanks at first. However, Abby means the world to me, so I took it. I had no other choice. The building was a relic, a monument to faded glory. The cheerful cartoon characters on the faded murals, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, stared down with vacant, glassy eyes. They looked less like mascots and more like silent, watchful guardians of some forgotten horror. And those animatronics, they were more unsettling up close. Towering metallic figures frozen in mid-pose. A constant reminder of a time that seemed both long past and disturbingly recent. It was not my first choice of employment, but I didn't have any other choice. My first night there was quiet, almost eerily so. I had always hated the quiet, the way it would press down on you with all its weight. It was too easy for the silence to be broken by something else. Something far worse than noise. My thoughts often drifted to Garrett. My little brother, I saw it happen, but I could do nothing to help him. Then I had fallen asleep that first night, and I dreamed. It started with the kidnapping of my brother, Garrett. The memory was always blurry, fragmented like pieces of broken glass. I was a child again, helpless, watching as they took him. Then, in my dream, I saw them, 5 kids. They were all young, all scared, their eyes reflecting the same terror that had clawed at me that day. They vanished when I tried to approach them. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was just a dream, I kept telling myself, just a dream. I had to stay focused on my task of guarding the abandoned building, but I couldn't stop thinking about the children. They seemed so real. The next day, Jane came around, like the vulture she is, with her goons. Abby's babysitter, Max, and a group of other thugs that looked like they had been through a fight with a wood chipper and lost, were among the goons. Jane is trying to speed up her custody of Abby by trying to get me fired by having the thugs vandalize the building. If I get fired, she can take my sister from me. My second night was worse. I had hardly settled in when the vandalizers broke in. They were making a lot of noise, screaming and cursing. I was going to make the call and get the police involved when the noise just stopped. That was when I saw them. The animatronics, or some twisted version of them. The cheery mascots were no longer frozen. Now they were moving with jerky, unnatural strides, metal on metal, the only sound above the thumping of my heart. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, they were no longer the friendly faces on the posters. I watched, hidden in the shadows, as they turned the group of vandals into a mangled mess of flesh and metal. They were ruthless, efficient, and utterly terrifying. They were something beyond what should be, something other than normal, something beyond human comprehension. Max, the babysitter, vanished along with the rest of the goons that Jane brought along, adding another layer to my concern. Now I had to bring Abby to work, and it felt like an awful idea from the start. I knew I was going to be in some kind of trouble, but I had no idea of what kind of trouble I was going to run into. The next night, I brought Abby along, against my better judgment. The animatronics were different with her. They seemed gentler. Like a predator that found a cub, they acted cautiously, almost tender. It was unsettling to watch Freddy Fazbear, a hulking mechanical bear, try to befriend a child. I discovered that they were not just machines, that they were something else, something more. Abby talked about the children and the yellow rabbit. I soon realized that these animatronics were possessed by the spirits of those missing children, the children I saw in my dream. It was then that I knew I was way in over my head. The fourth night felt like some horrific nightmare. I was bonding with Abby and even Vanessa, a police officer who had been hanging around the place. Then, an accident happened, and Abby was hurt. It was a small thing, a cut and bruise, but it was enough to send a wave of guilt crashing over me. I had to be more careful. I had to protect her. The next day, after dropping off a very upset Abby with Jane, I did something dumb. I took sleeping pills. My body was aching from a few nights of restless sleep and constant tension, and I just wanted it to stop. That was when they came to me again, in my dreams, the children. They made me an offer, a deal. I could be with Garrett forever if I gave them Abby. For a moment, a horrible moment, I considered it. The temptation was a terrible thing, powerful and overwhelming. But then I saw Abby's face in my mind, her bright eyes and innocent smile, and the deal felt like a betrayal. I refused. The children attacked me. They are restless, vengeful spirits, and they didn't take no for an answer. I woke up in a cold sweat, strapped to some device, the same device that killed the previous guard. The rusty metal felt cold against my skin. The smell of dried blood was overwhelming. I was about to die, I knew it. But I was lucky, barely escaped, and stumbled back into the building. I was cornered by Foxy, his metal teeth glinting under the dim emergency lights. He was fast, much faster than I anticipated, and his claws ripped into me before I could react. I was hurt, I was bleeding, I was scared. Then came another wave of horror. I saw the yellow Freddy. This animatronic was different, broken, damaged, and it was taking my sister. Jane was dead, her lifeless body a twisted parody of a person. This wasn't just about a security job anymore. This was about my family, about saving Abby from this twisted nightmare. I was going to do everything I could to save my sister. Vanessa found me, her face a mask of concern and something else, something like fear. She revealed the truth, the horrible truth. She was the daughter of William Afton, a name that sent chills down my spine. He was the man who had murdered Garrett and the other children. He had hidden their bodies inside the animatronics, their souls trapped within their cold, metallic shells. They weren't just machines, they were prisons for lost souls, puppets dancing to the tune of a madman. Vanessa was just as horrified by the situation. She had no idea what her father had done. I had to protect Abby, and that meant I had to face this nightmare head-on. I had to get back to the pizzeria now. I had to stop them. The animatronics wanted to kill Abby, to make her one of them. I managed to get inside, and I confronted the animatronics. They didn't want to fight me. I fought them, I had to. They wanted to harm Abby. They had already killed Jane. They had to be stopped. After managing to disable them all, thinking I was finally safe, Steve appeared. Or at least, it looked like Steve. It was Afton, dressed in a yellow rabbit suit, the same yellow rabbit the children had spoken of. I recognized him at once. Afton reactivated the animatronics, and I realized this wasn't just about haunted robots. It was about a monster, a man who reveled in pain and death. He was the one pulling the strings all along. We tried to fight him, but Afton was strong, almost inhumanly so, and easily overpowered me. Vanessa tried to save me, but was stabbed by Afton in the process. My heart sunk. This had all become far more complicated. I couldn't lose Vanessa. Then, I remembered something. The children, they liked drawings. I told Abby to show them the truth, what Afton had done. She drew a picture, a simple crayon drawing, but it was the truth. It was the moment when Afton had killed them. The animatronics looked at the drawing, and then at Afton, and I saw something flicker in their dead eyes. They weren't just puppets anymore. They were angry, betrayed, and hungry for revenge. The animatronics, all of them, turned on him. Mr. Cupcake, a small, seemingly harmless animatronic, bit off a part of Afton's suit. Then it happened. The spring locks, the devices that had been built into the suit to make Afton look like a walking mechanical rabbit, triggered, trapping him. His screams were a mix of agony and rage, a sound that echoed in the very depths of hell. The animatronics dragged him away, leaving us bleeding and broken. I grabbed Abby and Vanessa, and we fled the collapsing building, the sounds of Afton's screams and the rumbling of metal and concrete following us into the night. We managed to escape before the building fully collapsed. I managed to get Vanessa to the hospital. She was in bad condition. She had fallen into a coma. I couldn't stop thinking about her. It was all my fault that she was in such a bad state. Abby and I, well, we are trying to put the pieces back together, resume our normal lives. But the pizzeria, or rather what was left of it, stands as a reminder of what had happened to us. It is a constant, looming shadow of what had happened to us. Even after leaving the pizzeria behind, I know I would always be looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next monster to come out of the shadows, waiting for the next threat to appear. I knew it was not over, not even close to it. The animatronics had taken Afton, but they had no intention to rest. They would be back for more. Back at the ruins of the pizzeria, the children, free of Afton's control, watched as he lay dying in his suit, alone and forsaken. The leader of the group, a ghost of a child, saw that Afton got what he deserved and left him, leaving him to face his fate, alone in the darkness. He then vanished into the dark, joining the others. The shadows were still full of monsters. I just didn't know when they would come back to haunt me and my family again. This is why I always looked over my shoulder, to be ready for whatever comes next.